Hold on, I'm getting a text message. I just got a text message from my mom, who is in the next room. Presumably she texted me so as not to disturb the recording.
Well, it's too late for that.
And
I'm Louis Mites.
And this is The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. Have you heard the most recent news?
About the split season?
Yes, about the split season.
Yeah, I woke up to that. Well, I didn't wake up to it, but I woke up, sat at my computer, and saw people tweeting about it.
Oh. Because I was imagining it waking you up.
The announcement.
Yes, I guess it's the Edinburgh International TV Festival or something like that. And Moffat's booming voice across the Atlantic. There shall be a split series. Although he actually said that it will not be a split series, but rather 2 short series. He's calling them Series 6 and Series 7.
Huh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't read that. Alright, that's interesting.
This was, you may recall, rumored to have been the plan for this year.
Right.
But I don't think I ever really took those rumors all that seriously. Do you have any particular thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I really trust Stephen Moffat a lot, so I feel like if he wants to do this, I say go for it, just because. And I do like the idea that, you know, he brought up that, we get like 2 finales or, you know, whatever, and, you know, 2 premieres and stuff like that. And that I would say that usually I am most excited for the premieres and the finales, so if they want to, you know, give me more of those, then I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, Stephen Moffat's really interested in telling an ongoing story as opposed to just these episodes that aren't connected. So perhaps this will allow him better to tell the kind of story he wants to tell, which I suppose is a good thing.
Yeah. I feel like that's actually a pretty good idea, because I think that overall, though, I think that's kind of an interesting sort of thing to do. And I'd like to see where he takes it, I guess. Another
thing that I think about when I hear this, though, is I'm worried that this is largely just an example of what I refer to as the Battlestar ploy.
Okay.
Which is the attempt to make more money by being able to release what should be a single DVD release as 2 separate DVD releases.
Well, all right.
I believe that, to some extent, sales of DVDs and merchandising get fed back into the production. So it could be that Stephen Moffat had to agree to this in order to get more money for the budget. This is just speculation on my part.
Yeah, alright. I guess I could see that. I mean, fewer DVDs means that the individual ones would cost less, but yeah, I guess still you would make more money that way. Well, and to be honest, I don't think I have a problem with giving the BBC more of my money.
Well, I usually buy them on Amazon where they're deeply discounted anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter all that much to me.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they can release them however they want to release them, I suppose. I will continue to support the official release. They will not have lost me because of this. But, you know, it might be fun to have Doctor Who spread out through the year a little bit more.
Yeah, I do feel that it would be good to have it more than just, like, you know, whatever it is from April to June. Because that's nice, but, you know, it's nice that they don't take a break, I guess. But at the same time, there's, you know, all those other months of the year where I'm without Doctor Who, or without new Doctor Who, I should say.
Especially if the break is going to be necessitated by the story, then I suppose it won't be so bad.
Yeah, indeed.
Did you hear about the other major Doctor Who news from a few days ago?
Probably not.
It actually pertains to something we discussed in the previous episode.
No way.
Yes, way. I believe we were talking about the prospects of the 1996 television movie ever being released on DVD. I think I basically said, yeah, it may very well never be released on DVD. Well, lo and behold, mere days after I said that, it was announced by 2Entertain, the company that puts out the DVDs, that they have in fact gotten the rights to release the 1996 TV movie on DVD in the United States. It's been out for years in the UK, but they're putting out a special edition in the UK, I think, later this year, and there was some question over whether that would be released in the States, and the answer was no, until just recently when it was yes. So, yes. So I was utterly wrong.
Yeah, well, you should say something else, and then that is the opposite of what we would want to happen.
Okay.
I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
I can't think of anything.
Well, all right then.
So, do you want to talk about the War Games?
I would most certainly.
So, I understand that you ended up watching it a lot more quickly than you had expected to.
Yeah, I expected to, because I've never watched like a big story like this. I think the biggest one I watched was Genesis of the Daleks, and I'm not really sure how many parts that was.
I think off the top of my head that's 6.
Okay, and that seemed kind of long to me, and I kind of, by the time, I'd gotten to the last part, I kind of wanted it to end. But with this, I just kind of started watching it, and I actually just kept on going because I just thought it was so interesting. I ended up getting all the way to, like, the 7th part, and then I was like, alright, I need to go to bed. But I would have probably kept on going all the way through had there not been that inconveniently placed bedtime.
I didn't do that. I think I watched it over the course of 3 days, and this was not the first time I had seen it. But it is a very interesting story. It's exciting. You want to know what happens next, even if it is extremely repetitive.
Yeah, I suppose there was a bit of that. Yeah,
in terms of within the space of one episode, the characters will escape from one sort of imprisonment and get imprisoned by somebody else, and then perhaps even a third party.
Yeah. I actually really liked watching the second Doctor. I thought he was really good.
Oh yeah, I like Patrick Troughton a lot.
I mean, I could definitely see, like, elements of the first Doctor sort of carrying over, but largely he seemed like his own character.
He does very much make the character his own. He's a lot kinder than William Hartnell.
And actually, to be honest, I did not know that the sonic screwdriver was that old. Like, it appeared that far back in the series. Because, I mean, I guess I have a very poor sense of, the chronology of all this. I knew that the 4th Doctor had the sonic screwdriver.
It doesn't really seem to do very much in this story.
No, not really. It performs the function of an actual screwdriver.
I know. Who'd have thunk?
It's cool to see how that tool's kind of evolved. And it's actually, it looked different than I'd ever seen it before, I guess. I mean, I'd seen the 4th Doctor's version of the sonic screwdriver where it didn't really have any, it didn't look like it had any moving parts. I don't think there was even like a light or anything. But that was interesting that, I almost want to know what color it was, I'm bothered that I can't know that.
There may be telesnaps taken during the production that will enlighten you. I don't know where they are, but... Yeah, another tool that was conspicuously absent in this is the TARDIS translation circuit.
Yeah.
There's a French soldier that they're trying to communicate with, and they have to rely on, I don't remember the character's name, the soldier that's with them throughout the story, he speaks some French.
Now that I think about that, yeah. I did find that strange at the time, I'd just forgotten. But yeah, now, was the translation circuit established at that point, or was it just kind of like a... thing?
The first mention of it was in a 4th Doctor story where Sarah Jane asked the Doctor why she can understand alien languages or foreign languages, I think it might have been in that case, which had never been even asked up until that point. And he says, it's a gift of the Time Lords that I'm sharing with you. And then it wasn't until, I don't think it was until the end of the world with the 9th Doctor and Rose that it was established that it's a TARDIS translation circuit. I think that's speculation, and it had possibly been included in novels and audio dramas and stuff like that, but I think it's fairly recent that was confirmed on screen in the TV show.
That's interesting. I never knew that. Yeah, actually, I'm kind of surprised they didn't bring that up in, like, the Aztecs when they were speaking, ancient Aztec or whatever. I don't know. Is that like a language? Is that a thing?
I'm sure,
Ancient Aztec?
I'm sure they had some form of language, and I guess Ancient Aztec seems as good a name as any.
Well, as opposed to, like, modern Aztec.
Well, not many people speak that. As you may remember, it was a key element in that story that the Aztecs were wiped out.
Yes. So actually, it seemed like the war chief was a Time Lord, right?
The war chief was, in fact, a Time Lord, yes.
So
wait. Let me back up a bit. So this story involves some aliens called the Warlords, the leader of whom is called the Warlord, and they have a warlord named the Security Chief, and they have a warlord named the Chief Scientist, and then there's also the War Chief, who is not a warlord but a Time Lord.
That's not confusing at all.
Not even a little bit.
Now, the war chief, I believe, the war chief was killed at the end, right?
I believe so.
He should have regenerated, right?
Well, I mean, even now that I don't want to say the rules have been established of regeneration because they make up new rules whenever it's convenient to them, but it's pretty well accepted that there are circumstances in which a Time Lord won't regenerate.
All right.
It could be that was his final regeneration. It could be that in, The Deadly Assassin, there are loads of Time Lords, or maybe they're just Gallifreyans, that don't regenerate, and that's because they're shot with a weapon called a staser, which I guess doesn't let you regenerate. I don't know.
I'll accept that. Basically,
what I'm saying is it doesn't really pay to wonder about why a Time Lord didn't regenerate.
Okay.
It's not a road you want to take.
All right, I'll stop now then. This was the 6th season, yeah?
This was the end of the 6th season.
It seems like they took their sweet time in getting to the Time Lords. I mean, it seems like that kind of a thing wouldn't fly in like modern television, I guess I want to say.
I mean, the Doctor is supposed to be mysterious, and we're not really supposed to know all that much about him. So I feel like a lot of people have argued, either sincerely or ironically, that the War Games is when Doctor Who jumped the shark. Because by introducing these elements of the Doctor's history, you're sort of demystifying the character a little bit. I completely disagree with that. I think it's an interesting position to take.
Yeah, if you wanted the Doctor to be a mysterious character, then yeah, that would... Like, if that was like sort of the premise of the show, is that the Doctor's this mysterious guy.
That's the title of the show, Liz.
Well, alright. You got me there. But, yeah, that would do it. That would definitely be a shark jump.
Like, people say this can be seen as like the beginning of a downward slide, and I don't agree with that, but, I feel like the Time Lords are really interesting to watch in this series. Like, especially if you put yourself in the frame of mind, like, I don't know anything about what's going on here, I don't know anything about who the Doctor is, and then we finally learn these things.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there are shows who, like, handle the unveiling of mysteries very well. I'm thinking of Lost, actually, but, I think that it was handled pretty well here. And I guess it was just different, having become a fan so late, that looking back and seeing this, it just sort of seemed natural to me. Like, all right, this is the way it is, and we're finally seeing this interaction, but it didn't really bother me in any way.
Like, I mean, if you think about it, it took Russell T Davies 5 years to explain the circumstances behind the Time Lords being wiped out of history. So, I mean, this was only one more year than that, 6 years. So, I don't think it was that long of a wait to find this out.
All right, fair enough.
So, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did it strike you that the Warlord looked almost exactly like Steve Jobs?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so you also noticed that.
Yeah. I was a little bit bothered.
Okay, just throwing that out there. I don't know. I like that character a lot. I like the Warlords in general. I like the Chief Scientist, who was a bit of an idiot and kept getting tricked.
Oh, yeah.
I like the Warlord. I like the guy with the scar. I like all the villains in this story. They're just good villains.
Yeah.
They're very nasty and evil. But the Steve Jobs Warlord he's all soft spoken and he doesn't raise his voice. It's very sinister.
Yeah, I found him difficult to understand at times, but yes. But yeah, that kind of creeped me out a little bit, and actually, sort of brought me more into the story, because I do in fact fear Steve Jobs.
I know you do. And you were right to.
So, this added a whole new element of fear for me. Like, oh, this guy means business, essentially. Well, as does Steve Jobs.
Element of Fear sounds like a good title for a Doctor Who story. So you finally saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, when you put that, I mean, you make it sound...
Finally!
No, no, I did see it, and I really did like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up seeing it 3 times.
Wow.
So far, I don't think I'm likely to see it again. I think 3 is enough. But as you may know, I was already a fan of the comics before seeing the film. So, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Did you have any particular thoughts on it?
Well, not really. I really liked the whole sort of old 16-bit like video game style kind of thing they were going for. I really liked that. But I was actually wondering if that was something that sort of appeared in the comics.
Well, the comics do feature lots of references to video games, and particularly video games of yesteryear. Like mentions of him leveling up and things like that. So the comics are full of video game metaphors, and the entire story is basically structured around boss battles. Yeah, apparently there is a video game based on Scott Pilgrim, which is available for people who have good video game consoles.
Huh, I see.
Which I am not one. They're like PS3 and Xbox 360, basically.
I hate it when they do that.
Not yet available for anyone else. It's done in a very 16-bit style, so I don't really know why that couldn't run on, say, the Wii or a very old computer.
Not new computers, though. You can't have that.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is that I suppose it could run not only on new computers, but also on old computers. So it should be released for any and all computers, unless they're running Linux.
Then we don't want their kind.
But overall, the movie did terribly at the box office.
Really? That's disappointing.
I think its first week it came in 5th place. It was behind like Inception, which was 3 or 4 weeks old by the time it came out.
Well, Inception was very good, but that is still disappointing.
It was. It was also behind The Expendables.
I don't even know what is that?
That's an action movie with lots of famous people like Stallone and I guess other people. It's just an action movie that was littered with like A and B list stars. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger makes a cameo, I believe.
Whoa, no way.
Yes way.
Wow.
And so I suppose people decided to see that instead of Scott Pilgrim, because I think a lot of people didn't really have a very good idea of what Scott Pilgrim was.
Yeah, I don't actually remember. I don't know if I guess I did see a trailer for Scott Pilgrim. I didn't see it in the theaters. I actually watched it on the internet.
Yeah, I think I only ever saw it on the internet. I think there were TV spots as well, but I don't remember seeing one.
Huh. So perhaps poor advertising.
Perhaps that. Yeah. It was a big hit at Comic-Con.
Well, I imagine it would be.
I don't really think I have that much to say about it, because I've already written a review of it and everything. I feel like I've said everything that could reasonably be said about it.
I may have more to say if I'd seen it again, but I mean, just from my first viewing, I really enjoyed it. And, I feel like if I didn't like it, I'd have a lot to say, because I could complain. But, because I did like it, there's not a whole lot I can say.
Right. Most of my comments would be something like, oh, they captured this really well, or oh, they did this really poorly. But that doesn't mean anything to someone who hasn't read the comics.
Indeed.
So it doesn't mean anything. And that's basically the gist of this segment of the podcast. It just doesn't mean anything. Have you seen Avatar again? Have you seen the new version of Avatar?
I haven't.
Are you going to? You are.
I am.
Yeah, you are. Okay.
I am. Probably in IMAX. Just cause.
Well, yeah, okay. If you want, we could do a little podcast segment where you talk about how good Avatar is and I talk about how bad it is.
All right.
How much I hate that movie, and it really upsets me.
I think that might be entertaining, at least to someone.
I hope not. God, because that would mean something good came of that movie, and I just can't stomach that. Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know? Okay, it's 9 minutes of new footage, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what that entails?
I've heard rumors. Well, not necessarily rumors. Well, rumors.
That's a Fleetwood Mac album.
I haven't heard that.
Really?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah. Actually, I guess it's a rumor. I don't know. I heard it from someone. Maybe it was a rumor when they told it, but that there was an extended sex scene or something.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, exactly what that movie needs. An extended sex scene.
But beyond that, I don't know. I'm hoping that's not the entire 9 minutes, because that would be a little much, even for someone who enjoyed the movie.
It would take a lot to disrupt that movie's pacing. How long was the original theatrical cut of the movie?
I want to say it was about 3 hours. Felt like 3 hours. I don't know.
It felt like 3 hours to you? That's all it felt like?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess. What is it? It was 162 minutes. How much is that?
Oh, God, math. Ugh.
That's 2 hours and 42 minutes. Okay, so it felt like, even for me, it felt like it was longer than it actually was.
Well, doing the math, if it was 2 hours and 42 minutes and felt like 3 hours, then how long will the additional 9 minutes of footage make it feel like? Go!
8 days.
There's also a sequel to Avatar in the works, is there not?
What? Is there? I haven't read anything about that, but that wouldn't surprise me.
I suppose I'm just assuming that.
Well, I mean, and you're probably right to assume that.
You know what? Actually, no. I'm pretty sure I've heard at least something about a sequel to Avatar that may...
Hey, you know what? Maybe it would follow the same plot line as Pocahontas 2.
I never saw Pocahontas 2.
I did, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I know Pocahontas 1 was not very accurate to history, but I think it, at least made an attempt to resemble somewhat the history. But I wonder if Pocahontas 2 is, set in an alternate timeline.
I don't think that the possibility of alternate timelines was really thoroughly explored in the Pocahontas franchise.
Or, you know what? In any of the Disney feature films.
Yeah, actually, it seemed like the ads for Lilo and Stitch, and this is just weird out of the blue that I thought of this, but it's just like the trailers for Lilo and Stitch, at least the teaser trailers, seemed to imply that it involved other Disney characters when it did not. But I don't know. That was weird. I don't even know why I thought of that.
I'm not really paying attention. I'm trying to think if any Disney movie features alternate timelines.
It's okay. What I was saying actually, really didn't matter.
No, I don't think so. Although, of course, there is the House of Mouse.
That's true.
Which is apparently an alternate timeline in which all of these Disney properties coexist.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
What are we talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay, yeah. So,
how did we get on that?
Well, I think we were talking about Avatar, and then we were talking about... I have no idea how we got on that.
Pocahontas 2.
Oh, right, okay. Which takes place in an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Disney movies, in a previous episode we talked about Disney movies.
That's right.
And I believe I made an egregious error.
Oh?
I believe I implied that if you purchased the VHS copy of The Lion King, that you would see the original theatrical trailer for Aladdin, which of course is bull feathers. It's the other way around, I think. I don't know, because Aladdin was released before The Lion King.
Oh, that would make things difficult,
not?
Wouldn't it?
I don't know. I think Beauty and the Beast has the original theatrical trailer for Aladdin.
Oh. All right, then.
I gotta check this out and follow up in episode 5 of the Cloister Room.
Yeah, you do that. I'm not gonna do that, but yeah, you go ahead. So now, do we know what Third Doctor story we're watching?
Oh yeah, we were supposed to say that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll probably just edit this into an earlier portion of the podcast. According to our loyal, I don't know, I guess they're listeners. I don't know if they actually listen. They might just respond to my tweets, in which case they're not hearing this, so I can say whatever I want about them. But according to those people, they want us to watch Inferno, which is the Third Doctor story from Season 7, which is the season following this one.
Okay.
And as you may be aware after having watched the War Games during this period, the Third Doctor is exiled on Earth, doesn't travel through time and space, and he works as a scientific advisor for UNIT. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but...
Yeah, I was aware of... I did know that the 10th Doctor had made reference to the fact that he used to work for UNIT in the 70s, or was it the 80s?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess I knew that. So does he not have access to the TARDIS at all, then?
You'll just have to wait and see.
All right, then.
But I will say that the story, Inferno, features alternate timelines.
How relevant?
No, it's not relevant because I'm going to edit this to appear earlier in the podcast.
Ah, darn.
Where am I? I don't even know anymore. I don't even know what I'm going to do now. You just ruined it. You broke the fourth wall. Okay. So anyhow, and then the week after that, we are going to be watching a Fourth Doctor story. But the question is, which one? And so I ask our listeners, or Twitter followers, whichever, that they suggest to us a Fourth Doctor story for us to watch. There are a lot of Fourth Doctor stories.
Indeed. I've seen some of them. So this will be like the first time that, well, pretty much the first time that I'll have had a chance to have maybe already seen something that is being suggested.
Maybe.
Small chance.
I don't know which stories you have seen, but I also don't know which story is going to be picked this time, because to be fairly honest, for the First Doctor, I had a feeling it was probably going to be the Aztecs, and the same for the Second and Third Doctor. I feel like the War Games is the quintessential Second Doctor story, and according to a lot of people, Inferno is the quintessential Third Doctor story. But Fourth Doctor story, I don't know, could be almost anything. Lewis,
yes?
Tell the people how to contact us.
All right, well, you could contact us via email. That's the cloisterroom@gmail.com.
Yep.
There's the website, of course, the cloisterroom.com.
That is the website.
Or on Twitter at the Cloister Room.
Yeah.
Or at my personal Twitter account, Miles Belly.
Ooh, or mine.
Or yours.
T. Dickinson.
Yes. And, did I miss anything?
No.
Carrier pigeon.
Well,
we could look into that.
I guess. I mean, there are probably other ways to get in touch with us. I mean, I'm not going to give out my personal cell phone number on the air, but, if you know it.
Yeah.
Give me a call. Sure.
I will definitely respond to carrier pigeon mail. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
All right. Well, I won't. I make no guarantees, and I do not respond to threats, nor do I negotiate with terrorists. And on that note, I suppose this episode of The Cloister Room has come to its grisly end.
And about time.
Yeah, I know, seriously.
Yeah. I was waiting for it.
All right, so, in any case, this has been The Cloister Room, and I have been Tom Dickinson.
And I have been Louis Midas.
Goodbye, everyone.
Farewell.